Recording in progress.
Great. So thank you all for being here. We're really excited to have Melissa Knopp and Nilofar Gardezi, who have been part of the Rising Leaders Cohort in the past few seasons of the work, join us to share their experience, which will hopefully help those of you who are considering submitting an application, refine some of those answers and some of the reasons that you're thinking about joining the cohort. So just to start off, I'm Kate Seeley. I'm the Senior Director of Leadership, Culture, and Community at Northern California Grantmakers. I know a lot of you. It's good to see you, and it's really great to see some new faces here as well. We've done this now for 3 years, but before we did it, it was really a dream of mine to be able to support leaders who are newer to the field of philanthropy navigate this very interesting, privileged, relational, and sometimes challenging fields. There's a lot of nuances that are particular to philanthropy around power and privilege that don't get talked about very much, and that are very essential to, as folks make progress in your careers within the field and make decisions as to where you want to go with your work in philanthropy. So the idea of today is to really open up some conversation around why Melissa and Nilofar chose to be part of this cohort and how it supported them in their journeys in philanthropy. So I'm going to introduce them shortly, but first just want to acknowledge that I'm calling in from the unceded lands of the Southern Pomo people, currently Sonoma County, Santa Rosa. Acknowledgement is one step in the process towards justice, and happy to say that NCG just made our first contribution to the Shumi land tax in this quarter, which feels like a really great thing to be able to share. We can share more about the Shumi land tax in the chat, but there's a whole campaign around land back and supporting Indigenous communities in their work towards more sovereignty. So we'll get going here with that. Nilofar works with the Lesher Foundation, the Dina Margaret Lesher Foundation in the East Bay, has been there for 3 years, and was a part of last year's cohort. And Melissa Knopp now works at Northern California Grantmakers and was a part of the 2020 cohort. So we started in person and went virtual with the pandemic. So that was a big year for this cohort. Previous to that, we did a pilot year the year before, and where we kind of tried out some of the curriculum and refined it as we went forward. One thing about the curriculum to notice is that there's on the webpage, are session descriptions, and they're about 4 or 5 sentences long. And there's a reason that they're not super detailed, because we have a sense of what each session is going to look at. And the magic happens in who shows up in the room. So the faculty are highly trained facilitators who are attuned to what the room needs in a given moment and tracking the arc of development within the cohort. So that's our role, or at least one of the pieces of our role. Okay, so we're going to have a conversation here with Mel and Nilofar around their experiences with the Rising Leaders Cohort, from starting and deciding to apply into their cohort experience, and then how they're using that experience now. So we're just going to get into it. Fun fact, I just got called into jury duty today at 12:30. And so it's like 5 minutes from my house. I'm going to pop off a little bit early at 12:25, but we're going to finish this conversation, like the moderated portion of the conversation, by about 12:22. And then Mel and Nilofar are going to stick around to answer any questions that folks have. So just wanted to note that, obviously not ideal. I'm always available via email or a phone call in the next couple of days if folks want to talk more. Okay, let's get started. Mal and Nilofar. Nilofar, let's start with you. Do you want to talk about why you decided to apply to the Rising Leaders Cohort in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Nilofar Gardezi. I live in Oakland, work in Walnut Creek, and that's something in and of itself, some bridging. I don't know if you all are familiar with that area, but there's a lot of difference and uniqueness in each of those spaces. For why I applied, we were just chatting about this before you all hopped on. I was in the New Grant Makers Institute as well, and I loved what NCG offered in terms of skill building. You know, philanthropy is so relational. Tries to work across a lot of different fields and sectors. And I quickly recognized I came from an academic background and a nonprofit background prior to coming to philanthropy. And I knew that I needed to deepen some skill sets that I really couldn't put my finger on, but I knew that there was something missing in what I had sort of been trained up to do. So I really was looking to deepen skills, to be aware of dynamics that I was sensing, you know, in terms of power and privilege, and being able to name those things and identify and kind of move through them. It also was, you know, just expanding impact, like the tagline of expanding your impact, advancing your career. I remember, I think Kate and I joked about this in person when we finally got together. I was pretty clear that I wanted to be an executive director like in 5 years of a small family foundation. So I really had very clear goals for myself. I continue to, and CD does a great job of, through highly facilitated, highly trained faculty, of helping you knit, you know, and go towards that goal. So I just deeply respect their training and their attention and their sensitivity and their awareness of the field at large. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nilofar. Yeah, one thing to note even that I'm so excited about for this year as well is that we're partnering with Coro Northern California. Coro is a national organization that's focused on leadership development for public impact. So they're bringing a lot of expertise into the cohort as well. 2 women of color are going to be facilitating that with us. So it's an exciting update as we move forward with the quality of the faculty. Thanks, Nilofar. Mel, do you want to share why you applied to the RLC?
Of course. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Melissa Knopf. Friends call me Mel. I use she, her pronouns, and also calling from Ohlone Land in Oakland. And I applied to RLC definitely because I was just looking for a professional development opportunity. I was with Grant Makers Concerned with Immigrants and Refugees at the time, GSER. And I was 2 years into that role there, and with a lot of colleagues that were really deeply steeped in the work. And I was a part of a lot of like funder tables and networks. And I just couldn't shake like this feeling of imposter syndrome and feeling like that I belonged in this space and really sensing all the power dynamics at play. And so at the time, I think, and hopefully with the way that we shared it this year too, and last year, a lot of the descriptions really just talked about combating that and talked about just finding your leadership, finding your place and power in philanthropy. And that's really what I was seeking, just because there were so many meetings and colleagues and mentors that were helping me catch up to speed. But I thought it'd be really beautiful to be able to access a sense of community that was going through it at the same time. And I really liked the cohort model, just being able to come back. My cohort also had coaching in between the sessions itself. And so it was just really nice, the idea of having this coaching as well as the curriculum over the course of 6 months to learn and grow with one another.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Mel. Yeah, we'll have that in between smaller group opportunity as well. Yeah, this year or in 2023, next year. Mel, do you want to keep going and share whether your expectations were met with what when you applied? You clearly had some reasons for applying, like as you went through that, the cohort process, were those expectations met?
Yeah, and I'm not just saying, I mean, I feel like it's funny, y'all, because I loved it so much that I took Daniel's job when he left. So Kate mentioned that I now work with NCG. So at the time, Daniel Lau, colleague, friend in the space, was co-faculty with Kate at NCG, along with some of the other facilitators of the program. And I was like so enamored by just the facilitation, the style, like the community building, that as soon as Daniel like posted that his position was open, I was like, yep, there. Definitely want that job, definitely want to facilitate programs like this. So I definitely feel like my expectations were exceeded. And I think it's just because it wasn't just the curriculum and the deep learning. There was so much grounding in myself and my value outside of the work that I do, and then the value within the work that I do, and how I can bring my like full self to the work, whatever that means for each of us. And then I was really looking to, like, on top of that, at the time I didn't think I was going to switch roles, but I was really interested in learning how to facilitate spaces. So just having access to these really expert facilitators, whether it be the NCG team or all of the other faculty that, was there for all of the curriculum, just having access to that was really powerful for me. And I think my cohort specifically, remember, Kate, we were like, can you just like host a session on facilitating? Because we all want to learn how to do that, especially within the virtual space, because my cohort was, as Kate mentioned, in 2020. So we started in person and really thoughtfully were facilitated in person with exercises that were possible to do in person. But then our cohort also saw the team transfer that facilitation to the virtual space. So we were all really taken by that, especially as we were all trying to learn how to work in the virtual setting. And then the last thing I'll say as to why it was exceeded is just because of the community that I have, that I built there and that I still have. I made a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues in the space that we're still in touch. But in particular, I had a small group of friends that we called ourselves the Brown Girl Circle. There's 3 of us, and we would meet regularly in between all of the additional meetings that NCG had organized, just to debrief those sessions and just to talk about what was coming up for us as we learned through the curriculum, as we worked through the imposter syndrome that we were facing. We talked about things like what it looks like for us as women of color to be making more than our parents could ever dream of, and like what that looks like going, just the personal and the professional together existing in one. So I remember that conversation like so clearly. So definitely exceeded my expectations.
Beautiful.
Thanks,
Thank
Kate.
you, Mel. Yeah, a huge part of this is the relationships that are built in smaller and more intimate spaces, and the transformation that can occur through being in these conversations around bringing our whole selves, right? Like maybe we don't bring our whole selves to work, and we have to make a measurement as to what makes sense for us. In terms of the experiences that we have and the boundaries that we want to hold. So sussing out like what does that mean for each individual person? That's part of what this is about, so that we can remain true to who we are, aligned with our values, aligned with our purpose, and navigate through the field with those things intact. And to really also look at when we're feeling off center, what's going on, how do we learn from it, how do we grow, how do we stay in relationship, how do we make sure that we're developing as humans in our roles. Okay, thanks, Mel. Nilofar, I'd love to share specifically in this growth mindset, like how did the cohort help you grow? I know that you've done a lot beyond the cohort as well. But like, how would you describe where you were before and after the cohort?
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question. I think a lot of how I approached the cohort and how the cohort helped me was given the context that kind of were surrounding. COVID was peak, it was still in the emergency phase, rapid response. So there was just a lot of like, we got to get this to go and we have to make this happen type of mentality. And then also new to the field of philanthropy, I started the first day of shelter in place. So everything that was very clear to me as like very interesting, complicated dynamics were just so present, but in the context of the emergency response and trying to help support people who were actually supporting frontline folks, it sort of got into the background. So I felt like I was sort of retreating, like my voice, my values, like it's not that I didn't have them, it didn't take precedence, it didn't hold center spot. And what the cohort and what the curriculum and the facilitation helped was create a space of safety and trust and quiet and stillness so that I could reconnect back with my voice, reconnect with my values, reconnect with my leadership in both small ways and big ways. I would say, you know, before my voice was sort of getting lost, and then afterwards, my voice kind of reemerged and returned. And I felt the importance of doing it given what philanthropy is contending with and has historically contended with, to the point where my supervisor, our executive director, in my performance review yesterday, was just told me to keep retaining that truth telling that I, you know, have that I bring to the field, that I bring to the workplace, that it's so important and it's, you know, not something that, you know, obviously like brown woman speaking truth, like, you know, nothing new, but that it is a part of other changes that we were trying to make it as an organization and clearly as a field. So I think that the cohort really helped that because the way that the curriculum, its content is so great, but then the pacing and the way you may move through it, and then the way that you are encouraged and they create spaces for you to be radically honest and reflective with yourself, help you really kind of cultivate that relationship and that clarity for yourself. So I deeply respect that process and really deeply benefited.
Wonderful. Thanks, Nilofar. Mel, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, really echo a lot of what you're saying, Nilofar. That resonates with me too. I've already mentioned, you know, imposter syndrome was like running really rampant in me. Like I said, 2 years deep into philanthropy, meeting at the, sitting at these tables, you know, in person with folks and learning all the jargon in the field. And so different exercises that we did, one of them being my favorite, called the reflective best self exercise, was this really beautiful opening exercise that we did, which the framework and just the thinking behind it was to learn how to operate from a strength-based place instead of scarcity. When you think about yourself and what you bring to your community, what you bring, you know, whether that's personal or professional. And so that exercise, on top of, you know, curriculum led by one of the staffers of the program itself, one of the facilitators, faculty, really helped me to really try to combat the imposter syndrome. And I think again, just reflecting, having community bear witness to your journey of, you know, like being really deep in that pain of like, I don't feel like I belong, I want to leave this field, I'm deeply uncomfortable, but having that community around you to see you and witness you at that moment, to then step into accepting myself, stepping into my power. I think that's the biggest takeaway from the cohort. And then I think on top of that, it was coming from the PSO space, the philanthropic serving organizing space. It was also really good for me to understand the ecosystem, because most of my peers in the cohort were coming from foundations. And so just having access to the greater ecosystem was just good, and just understanding, you know, our field and our space more.
Yeah. Yeah, so much of advancing in the field comes from really understanding our roles and our institutions, and then being able to really play an inside game, right? And like understand what we want to change, where we have influence, and working towards that. Philanthropy is on a huge learning curve right now. There's this one report that I always refer to that came out in 2015 from Grantmakers for Effective Organizations. That was a long time ago now, but it's called the Source Codes of Foundation Culture. And it talks about the source codes being banks and academic institutions and businesses, right? And this really deep curiosity that I have of like, are those the structures that we need to be employing within this system in order to have social impact, right, within the communities that foundations are meant to serve? So operating with that kind of curiosity within our roles and an integrity to what we're here with what we're here to do is a big part of this Leadership Development Institute as well. Nilofar, you both have talked a little bit about this, but I'd love to delve a little bit more into the curriculum, the faculty, and your peers. So just would love to hear any reflections that you have about your experience of each of these. The arc of the curriculum, Melissa, as you said, is starting with your reflected best self, really standing in who we are at our best and learning about that from people who matter to us. Moving into being in relationship with others, like hierarchical relationships, but also collaborative relationships. Looking at conflict management. Philanthropy is a very conflict diverse field. So how do we manage those conflicts when they come up, and when oftentimes they're not even spoken, right? That there is a conflict happening. And then moving into some facilitations, building some facilitation skills around how we use facilitation as a way to move a group in a certain direction. So yeah, I would love to hear from you, Nilofar, about curriculum, faculty, peers, your experience of these aspects of the cohort.
Yeah, thank you. I don't want to mean to be cheesy, but I just want to hold out 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. You know, it just is like so fantastic. I can't,
Thank you.
hyperbole does not even begin to approach how amazing it is. And I came from an education background, was in higher ed for a long time, and have been a facilitator in the professional setting as well. And just like Melissa was saying, blown away. The level of nuance, sensitivity, nimbleness, in terms of the facilitation is incredible, incredible, incredible. And I have experience of Coro as well. And I know that they bring, similar skill sets. Didn't go through that program myself, but have colleagues who have, and admire the work that they continue to do. So I can only imagine the two things coming together, just being like a, moment. But I would just say that faculty, it's to the point that you want to kind of mimic that facilitation. It's very hard in the Zoom space. It's very hard to be uh, shepherding people's learning, supporting their growth, opening up for possibility, having difficult conversations, and they do it excellently. I mean, I don't feel like this was a diminished experience because it was virtual. I think, if anything, it allowed me to plug into this very safe virtual space together that was really sort of very real to me. Um, the curriculum is very thorough. I feel like it sort of soup to nuts kind of covers the whole thing. I remember the reflected best self exercise as well as a high moment for me as well,
Mm,
Melissa, where you get people from all parts of your life, professionally, personally, to reflect your best self to you, and you begin from that asset space to the different pieces and phases of philanthropy. I just remember that it was incredibly thorough, and I think it's sort of like worked itself into my thinking, and now I just sort of live and breathe it. And that's a real testament to the curriculum. And then the peers, I don't know what it is about people who kind of are drawn to this cohort, to NCG and their offerings, but so incredibly supportive. You don't know that you need that support until you are in this a white silent space that
mm,
doesn't really give much sort of feedback or it just is very white and silent. I don't know how else to put it. And so peers were incredibly supportive, incredibly generous with their sharing and their thinking. And you do really create a space that is open and honest, and that we're caring for each other. So community was such a big part of it, and the peer learning is. And I would say that I sort of had this one moment in the beginning where I was maybe more, I would say I was the oldest person there, and maybe more senior, quote unquote, in my role, like, program officer versus like program associate, all these are arbitrary clearly. And then people being younger and kind of a different sort of stage in life and profession, um, and having like, oh, like, is this really my space? Like, but then once we started to do the work, and I could ask my questions, and everyone asked, like, I still felt I could show up and do the learning that I need to do, and also learn from peers that might be at a different phase, but I had so much to learn from them, and vice versa. So it was just incredible. I can't sing the praises enough.
Thanks, Nilofar.
Do you want me to jump in too, Kate?
I see you coming off mute.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Echo that again. And I will just share that the curriculum, I really, really appreciated the pacing of it, specifically because a lot of us, I think all of us, were going through, we were experiencing the curriculum in our own professional lives, and then would come to this full, I would call it cohort Fridays, like a 6-hour day, which, by the way, it's very interactive. It's not just like people talking at you. There's a lot of like back and forth between breakout rooms to digest the information, to hear the curriculum, and then go and talk about it. A lot of breaks. So for anyone that is concerned about that, and just the cohort model, really interactive, even in the virtual space, which is why I was saying, like, we were all just blown away by how they facilitated it. But as I was saying, the curriculum, it felt very, it was really real as far as what we were experiencing professionally, and then being able to pause from our workday and then go into the cohort together. For example, there was, we learned about like different power dynamics, and then there was scenario planning on top of that, where we broke out and talked about how we would approach a situation, and troubleshooting that alongside one another felt really great, because there were so many of us that were experiencing the conflicts through the scenarios that the team had laid out for us. Something I specifically remember is in the conflict curriculum was hearing the facilitator mention that, like, when we're angry, we are in our, I think, lizard brain, or just like this animal primal brain, and we're literally not able to form thoughts coherently the way that we would if we're calm and grounded and in our bodies. And it's so funny because I think about that a lot now. Like, okay, I'm in my like lizard brain. I can't, like, I need to take a break, like I need to step away from this. Or if there's conflict happening, I'm like, they're definitely in their lizard brain right now. They, like, they are not able to really like actually connect with me right now. So like, I'm gonna forgive them for whatever they're feeling or saying, because they're clearly not in the right headspace. And then one other set of curriculum that was really helpful, I forget, Kate, what exactly this was called, but it went through the different stages of organizational, I think, wellness or development, but I just remember storming, norming. So just different phases of what organizations will get through, and as far as how they work alongside one another. And I really appreciated that, because in the institution that I was with at the time was going through an internal DEI, its own facilitated DEI space. We were working with a consultant, and I just remember it, as DEI journeys will, really shook up a lot for the org. And so I think it was so good for me as a rising leader, as a younger professional, to enter the space and to think about my work in that context, to remember, oh, the organization is like experiencing a lot right now, and that's why this is happening. So being really able to look at the curriculum, learn it, talk about it with the peers, and then really actually apply it to what was happening at the time. And I think that was the experience of a lot of my friends that were in the cohort as well, because again, the peers, my Brown Girl Circle, we would talk about just like that curriculum and how it was landing and how it was like in real time happening for us respectively in our different organizations. And then the last thing I'll say, because I think I've talked a lot about peers, is with faculty, there's just a lot of trust. I think that, everybody kind of naturally becomes a mentor, whether I think the faculty liked it or not. Like, I think a lot of us just looked at them as mentors, as guides through the space. And I really enjoyed, I don't think I've told you this, Kate, but being a colleague to you now, seeing the way that others that have been through this program, just the respect that they have for you, I think it just shows, that they, this cohort has meant a lot to us, to me. And I think that as we continue navigating throughout the field of philanthropy, whether or not some of us, a lot of us in my class have jumped, that we're no longer at the organizations, myself included, that we started with when we started the cohort. And some people have left philanthropy, most of us have stayed, but have changed our roles, whether it's like more of an advisor role, or a funding role. And I just see that the faculty itself was like this connective glue. And so I think that a lot of folks really have held on to that relationship, no matter where they've transitioned on to.
Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, I think that the faculty are deeply committed to honest and authentic leadership journeys for everybody who is interested in exploring that. So it's not something that is role specific or even field specific, but the relationships that are built are ones that can last our lifetimes. And that's kind of the orientation of this whole institute as well, or the cohort, is this long-term view of leadership, right? Like, we are all going to be working in our jobs. I mean, unless for some reason we hit the jackpot and win that big lottery that's happening right now. But we're going to be doing this work for a while, right? And it should feel good. it should feel right. It should feel like we're able to have the impact that we want to have. And that is a lifelong journey, a lifelong learning journey. So another thing, Mel, that you said around the timing, it's always an interesting thing to think about. The 6-month time frame for this is intentionally developed so that we have touch points as a full cohort every month. And then in between those, we're going to put you into smaller groups so that you can develop kind of a brain trust of folks, so that you can work through something that's really alive for you in your lives at this moment, that enables you to take the learning from each of the full cohort sessions and apply it in your own life. So this ability to kind of step into what Melissa calls the cohort Fridays, have those be really a retreat space. We encourage people to turn off their emails, to be present. We give a long lunch break so that you can go and integrate some of the work, go on a walk. We give a lot of breaks. There's a lot of small group conversation, presentation of framework, curiosities around, okay, how does this land with you given what you're working with? And then that ability to drop in with a smaller group of people in between the sessions as a touch point each month also. So there's a lot of thinking about how do we both offer spaciousness to be able to approach the content in a way that enables learning and curiosity, but also then that enables you to take it forward and think about application in your lives. We think about that a lot. So Nilofar, I'd love to ask you, like, how are you applying the content that you learned in these sessions in your role today? And then beyond your role, like, are there other applications? Like, is this influencing your life in other ways?
Yeah, great question. I'd say that I've sort of approached it in a sort of a holistic way, because it's really nurturing your leadership and your the way you show up and in these spaces that are often not set by you, or set by larger systems that are at play, and recognizing your role in that system. I'd say that it definitely helps me have conversations that are grounded in my values, and that help. And I also take actions that open up for possibility and transformation. Um, it helps me recognize the invisible forces that I wasn't really aware of that are at play in philanthropy, sort of philanthropy's role in the larger ecosystem. I'm thinking specifically, we fund in education, arts and culture, children and families, what other players they are, stakeholders there are in those spaces, how philanthropy is a stakeholder and a player, how we could use influence, and how to make using influence take shape and form, while all these things, while staying grounded in my values and trying to do things differently. I think that's really important to me, is not just to show up as a sort of a diverse face or diverse person, but also helping us all take action that helps us reimagine this moment, right? We talk a lot in my work about systems change. Systems change takes a long time. It's a long arc, but I think the way that this cohort nurtured and cultivated and helped me return to my voice and my values, and helped me sharpen my leadership skills in this specific place of philanthropy has really helped me work towards the system change that we're seeking.
Thanks, Nilofar. Yeah, again, the relationship between like the long-term leadership journey, long view leadership journey, and systems change feels very fractal to me. Mel, do you want to share anything?
Yeah, I'll also say, in as part of, I think, the conflict curriculum, there was a lot on feedback and just the knowledge of like power dynamics at play. So much applying this RLC content to my role, as far as, what models and tools we can use to deliver feedback to our colleagues, to our managers, to folks that you manage, perhaps. And the point of that example that I gave earlier, Kate, that you dropped into the chat as well, this model of looking at forming, storming, norming, and performing. The whole goal of that is to understand where your organization is at and how to get to performing together, like to having a performing organization that's like thriving and doing good work alongside one another. So definitely thinking through how do we, what do we need to do if not performing, what do we need to do, what do I need to do individually, what do I need to do as far as like with my colleagues to get to a point of performing. And then one other thing I wanted to mention was also learning from the cohort itself. Like I remember there was a lot of pivoting that took place as well, just because we were, in 2020 when things were changing rapidly, things were super scary, things were coming up, faculty of color were leading, and at the same time as the racial uprisings and everything. And so I remember there was a lot of pivoting that would take place, and just like giving grace, given compassion to ourselves. So it was really embodied like an exemplary work. And I think that those are the lessons that I take, and that's how I apply it to the work that I do now as well. And the last thing I'll actually say is that it's the relationships, it's like so much of it was really like putting yourself under a microscope and being like, what, as Nilofar said, what are my values? How do I get grounded in that? And then how does that come into relationship with all of the folks around me, with the power dynamics at play? And I'm constantly thinking about those things as I navigate my role here at NCG too.
Great, thank you, Mel. So penultimate question that I have, well, I guess it's the third to last, because the last question is going to be, what question did I not ask you that I should have? So begin thinking about that one. But this, I don't know what's the question before the penultimate question, but would love to hear you both describe what you think the ideal candidate for the Rising Leaders Cohort is, and how somebody could position themselves to get the most out of the experience. Nilofar, do you want to start?
Sure. I'd say someone who is just approaching it with like a beginner's mind, like being open. So you're like, yeah, just having an open mind and being open to learning. There's so much you'll get from it, relational, strategic, tactical, things like that. And just having that beginner's mind and being willing to try things on and then picking and choosing, obviously, what works for you and your context.
Mm,
Someone who's open to knowing and being honest with yourself. I think that was just so big for me, and I think that really, I think it's so embedded and baked into the curriculum of like, like sit with yourself, what works for you, like how does this manifest for you, like what's coming up, we're all the everything we bring, right? And so just being open to having those kind of often maybe uncomfortable conversations with yourself or reflections. And also someone who's willing to take charge of your own growth and learning. The content is going to be the content and it'll knock your socks off, I'm sure, but being willing to take charge of your own growth and learning and making it adaptive and speaking up in session and asking those questions and really trying things on in small groups and taking the work seriously and seriously for your own future and your colleagues' futures. We're all
mm,
stronger together. Um, yeah, I think those are the things.
mm. Thank you. Want to add on to that, Mel?
That's like a really good comprehensive list. I'll just say open was the word that came to mind as well. Someone that really wants to grow and push beyond like your own, what you think are your own limits. Like I said, just like it's definitely a cohort that's going to allow yourself, if you're open to it, let yourself be you put yourself under your own microscope to really observe yourself and your practices and who you are. So as long as you're open to that, open to being honest with yourself, as long as you're curious, I think that makes you a really great candidate for RLC. And if you are craving a community, because it's a community, I think that keeps giving and growing. And it's your network, it's your people that you get to walk through this field with, this sector with. I went to a conference with someone from the cohort, and I was like, I can't wait until we're EDs together, and like we get to like share that. We get to say like it all started at our RLC. It all started in this cohort where we're like, let's be rising leaders together. Let's have this professional development opportunity together. And I can't wait until we're EDs and like laughing and giggling and talking about like all that it took for us to get here. But yeah, community. If you want community, this is definitely the place for you to find it.
Yeah, thanks, Mel. And on that, just so everybody knows too, there's an active Rising Leaders alumni network that once you go through the cohort, you kind of, all of the cohorts are in an alumni community together. So you become part of a larger Rising Leaders, alumni community. So last question here, what are you both thinking right now about your professional development? Like, where are your sights set as you close 2022 and step into 2023? Nilofar, do you want to start?
Well, you know a little bit about it. I feel like I reached out to you, Kate, and I'm pretty transparent about it at my own organization because we have such a great staff and team. But I'm looking to grow and be challenged. There's some things that I want to gain, tactical things that I want to learn at my current foundation in order to step into more leadership in the future. And our current executive director is so fantastic about supporting that growth and learning. So we're pretty clear with each other, and she wants to support my growth, be it here, be it elsewhere. So that's really, really cool. And I don't think I would have, had those kinds of conversations without, having these experiences through NCG's trainings of like, I'm clear with myself. I want to be clear with others. I want to respect myself and my vision and also respect, kind of the context within which I am. I'd also say, looking forward, the field and the systems the social sector that are immersed in and entangled in, these are challenging times. And so, how do I continue to embody my values in challenging contexts and environments, um, and and express and flex leadership in those situations? And leadership can be listening and observing. It could be, it doesn't have to be very loud and visible, but how do I continue to do that? Because the next 5 to 10 years are going to be
Mhm.
crazy, right? And yeah, I think I'm on the road to furthering my professional growth, and a lot of what I've learned here in the communities that you all have held have really helped with that.
Mm, awesome. Thanks, Nilofar. Mel, yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in. My professional development, well, the answer to this question is also kind of an answer to that question, something that you didn't ask, Kate, which is just,
Right.
I think that RLC really baked in by modeling the importance of your wellness in sustaining your work, especially, within philanthropy, where resourcing movements that, are often, it's all social impact, it's all social justice. So it can land with the body in different ways. It can surface trauma for some. And so a lot of the professional development opportunities I'm seeking now have a lot to do with just wellness and grounding in the body. So looking at potential somatic workshops, also looking into Reiki, as well as potential coaching. So I feel really open as far as professional development, but I think a lot of it is, continuing to be grounded in my body as I do the work that I'm doing, and being really intentional about the things that I'm learning. So working maybe with a coach is something I'm looking at, or going through curriculum that's really focused on one thing I'm interested in developing skills in.
Nice.
But I'm feeling open and excited about it.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, that somatic experience is so valuable as we make our way through our lives, work lives and lives. Yeah. Okay. Well, Mel, you answered that last question then, but Nilofar, for you, is there a question that I should have asked that I didn't as we get ready for a Q&A?
I don't think so. It was so thorough. And yeah, if anyone else has questions too, I'm totally open. But no, I think you've really nailed it all.
Thank you. Well, thank you both for taking the time to prepare your thoughts and be clear about what the value of participating has been for you. I think sometimes it's hard to see yourself in like the words on a page on a website. So we do this for folks so that you can get a feel of some of the intricacies of the cohort experience. So yeah, we'd love to open it up for any questions that there are from you all. Thank you, Nilofar and Mel, so much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hope that all of you apply.
I had a question.
Joanna, yeah, please. Thanks for
Hi,
being
everyone.
brave.
Yeah. I was curious, I guess this is for Mel and Nilofar, but also Kate, if you know from previous cohorts, the cohort members, do many or any of them come with kind of previous professional development experiences to this, kind of doing this cohort model before, or is this sort of brand new because most people are relatively new to philanthropy or first couple of years in? I'm just kind of curious kind of what range of PD experience they come with.
No, I think it's all over the map. Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing is that the curriculum resonates with you, and that you feel like it's going to be, both beneficial for you and that you're going to be able to contribute as well. Yeah. No, it's all over the map. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've done professional development basically in every job that I've had. I've been really intentional about it. And even after this Rising Leaders Cohort, I did another training this year, Radical Transformational Leadership, which I also highly recommend. And I'm now a little PD'd out. I feel like I need to pause. But I love learning and love growing. And I think these communities of practice and learning are really helpful. So I came in with a lot, but I gained so much still because it's specific to this field in this area.
Same with me, Joanna. My experience is the same as Nilofar. I'd come in with quite a bit of professional development, but nothing quite like this, and nothing over the course of 6 months.
Looks like
Hey, you
Lenita
guys,
has a question.
I'm gonna peel out to go to jury duty. If Mel, will you track if there are any questions that don't get answered, and I can email the group in our
Yeah,
post-session email, we can answer some of those.
of course.
Okay, sorry to have to bow out a little
No, good luck, Kate. You
bit.
got
Okay,
this.
thank you
I-
both so much for being here, Mel and Nilofar.
Of course. Good luck. Okay, it looks like we have some questions in the chat, everyone. Lenita is asking, do you recommend more experience than 4 months but in the field before applying to this cohort? Do you want to take a stab at that, Nilofar?
I would totally apply. For that reason, even more specifically, I was so new to philanthropy. I felt so kind of like tossed in the seas of like wackiness that's philanthropy. So it was a lifeline in so many ways. It was like a sacred space and time that I even approached it as a ritual. Like I lit my candle, they give you a candle. I drank my tea, they give you some tea. I wrote in my notebook and just held that space and sat on a comfy couch and no, I would think like new to philanthropy is a high time to do it.
Yeah, I completely agree. One thing I'll add is just that we do offer a new Grant Makers Institute if you specifically want to have a little bit more context on what it means to be a new grant maker. But I think it's all the more reason 4 months in to apply to Rising Leaders, just because you're able to really take a look at all the leadership development tools and thinking and discussions that I think you'd come out of it like really strong and feeling really grounded in the work, especially being 4 months new and navigating all the nuances and like annoying tendencies of philanthropy. So definitely, Lenita. And then it looks like you're also asking, what's a time commitment in between the Friday interactive sessions? How much small group time is there? So the time commitment is for my cohort, there was, and I think this is different from yours, Nilofar, we had coaching in between. So there was also in between the Friday 6-hour days, we had 2-hour sessions in between that on also a Friday, which was just a mini version that included, again, a lot of small group discussion. So I think it was really meant, the intention was just to really let what we had learned in the curriculum and the Friday before that to really land and sink in and give folks a chance to discuss it for 2 short hours before meeting again for another 6-hour commitment in the next Friday. Not like consecutive Fridays, but every month.
Yeah, I wonder how much that's going to change given the new partnership with Coro. So that might be a Kate question, but we didn't have that, definitely. We had those long sessions, and each kind of module had 2 of the longer sessions, and then we had a one-on-one coach that we could do a couple of times towards the end of our time. So we had like professional coaching, but I don't remember small sessions in between.
Yeah, and sorry, I also know the answer because I'm helping to develop this next year's.
Okay.
But yes, the next year's cohort will be more similar to yours, Nilofar. So it won't include the mandatory 2 hours between the sessions. Yeah, thanks for joining, Holly. Take care. But yes, there will be optional. I think that there will be optional coaching. We're still kind of figuring those details out. That's a good question, Tina. We have another question in the chat. How competitive is it to be accepted to the cohort? So we are looking for anywhere between like 18 to 20 folks. We don't want it to be too large that it's unwieldy and that we aren't able to get to, especially with it being in a virtual setting. We don't want to have it be so that not everybody can come off mute and share about their experience or answer a question right in a larger group setting. But I also know that like, I don't think that Kate and I are really interested in turning that many people away if we were to get like an incredible amount of applications come in. But I think that Kate only had to say no to 1 or 2 both years. But I think that your chances of getting accepted are very high, Tina. So I would still apply.
I have a question about the facilitation skills.
Yeah.
So first, thank you both for all the info. This is very helpful and appreciate all the insight. Particularly curious about facilitation and would love to know a little bit more about what it looks like in practice in the cohort, and then how prepared you for real life scenarios.
That's a good question. I can start, and then Nilofar, if you want to jump in. So the facilitation is so good, Owen. It's what I appreciated is like the facilitation to me starts before the actual day too. So like sending the agenda beforehand so folks know what to expect from that time. I really appreciated that. And then sharing the agenda before at the top of the time with one another. And then just like making space, I think a big part of facilitation is just like being really present to things that come up. And so they really modeled that as far as you know, like being flexible-ish with the time. We're saying like, okay, because we only have this amount of time left, we're gonna move to this space, or if everyone's okay, like, you know, raise hand function. If everyone's down for this, we're gonna extend this portion or take a break later. So it's a lot of just like that communication, right? Like communicating it in the chat, having it be available, reminding folks to take care of themselves, and especially just in the virtual space. So it's like repeating yourself and being really thoughtful and intentional about how you share how folks are coming to the Zoom room together. And then having it available and accessible in different formats. So like typing, like having, for instance, if we were doing scenario planning in a small group, we would be sent the Google Doc where we would be working out of that. And then on top of that, folks would be, additional staff would be sending the questions in the chat. And then also, you know, it's like, if you have any questions, message us. And then you just get so used to it. You get so comfortable with each other that folks would then come off mute and ask questions in live time. But just really skillful facilitation, because it's a lot built off of, I think, a lot of emotional intelligence and over communication. So much so that I feel like we adapted it as participants because of how they modeled it. And I don't know if that's actually answering your question, but it's really excellent facilitation in the virtual space. Do you want to add to that, Nilofar, or do you have any, like, is that your question, Owen?
Yeah, I was going to ask clarifying, do you mean like the facilitation training that we got in the program? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I was curious about what the actual training looked like. Just generally speaking, Melissa, I think you hit on a lot of those. So thank you. And then curious how that prepared you for testing those skills out in real life.
Yeah, that's a good question. It might be a little harder for me to kind of have a frame of reference, the same frame of reference, because I am a trained facilitator and have done strategic planning sessions and have done it in the virtual space. And so a lot of what I saw, I could maybe speak from someone who's had that training. I was very heartened to see the types of things that they were showing us and training us in. It seemed very cogent and understandable given the context. And I felt like it was, while it wasn't necessarily my growth, it felt like it was appropriate to what the work would be moving forward. But again, I have training in facilitation and things like that. So it wasn't, that wasn't my learning curve.
Yeah. And I'll just say really quickly, Owen, I applied the facilitation like right away to my job at GSER. And like they all saw the growth there, which I thought was really cool, because I was like in between transitioning into another, like just like jumping up at my previous job. And so I was taking more on and facilitating more spaces staff wide and externally with like different funding partners. And so it was like immediate that I was like implementing the things that I was learning, even if it wasn't what they taught us in the facilitation curriculum. It was just things that I really liked that they were doing that I adapted and took to my job at the time. And it was like really well received. And I just got a lot more comfortable because of being sitting in the space. You get so familiar with it that I was able to apply it right away. And then of course, now I'm here at NCD, so practicing it a lot more here as well.
Looks like there's some logistical questions in the chat, Melissa.
Yeah. Is there okay. One Friday a month, 6-hour days. Yep, it's 10 to 4. That's 6 hours, right? Yeah. So 6 hours, a lot of breaks in between, Joanna. There's like at least an hour for lunch too, so it's not even a full 6 hours. So don't worry if that's something that you're thinking about. And then Lanita, is there a capstone or concluding reflection project, any homework or writing assignments? Really great question. Do you want to start, Nilofar?
I remember, great question. And I also really respect kind of capacity, personal capacity before committing to something. For my context, I had a kid in Zoom, Kinder Zoom. My husband and I were splitting schedules. We didn't have any other support. You know, it was working a long day. I didn't feel like I had the capacity to do this, is what I wanted to share. I remember there was reading, and there was some like maybe video or audio content sometimes we would have to listen to, but I don't remember any like homework or writing assignments, and it never felt too overwhelming. And I could honestly show up if I didn't have the capacity to do that listening or reading or whatever. I could show up and say like, did not get to it this week, but you know, we'll plan to do the, you know, whatever. So I felt like I had the time and the wherewithal to prepare. Didn't feel like I was behind on anything. As someone who also does not like homework, so yeah.
Yeah, and that was the same experience for me. I think that there was sometimes optional pre-readings, but they were not more than like a 3-minute read. And then the final capstone project looked different for both Nilofar's cohort and mine. Mine was, you know, delivered to us like a month before we had our final session, and it was just to bring something that you were going to like describe and share, and there was like an analogy connected to it. And then we presented it to the group. And I think that what was really nice is like we modeled, right? Like when people were nervous, because it's a leadership development, professional development opportunity, we modeled like, okay, I'm really nervous right now. Okay, let's get into our bodies. Like, let's let that go, you know? And so this cohort is really good at doing that. But nothing that felt really like time consuming, and nothing that you couldn't do like right before. I mean, this is being recorded, so I probably shouldn't say that, but nothing I couldn't do like right before the actual like Friday itself. And I'm dropping my email here for those that may have to hop off. Are there any other questions that y'all have? And if you want to, you know, chat, follow up and connect at another time, happy to do that as well. Just reach out over email. Roxana, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Sorry, I was off camera. I wasn't feeling super well.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But my question was just like, how did the virtual experience compare to, I guess, like the in-person experience? Just because I'm interested, and I also like, I'm very aware of like my capacity for a 6-hour or like a 5-hour engagement with the interaction included in that, and just wondering what's the different experiences there.
I'll let you start, Nilofar.
Again, I really enjoyed it. Actually, surprisingly, I didn't think I'd have it in me to do like a 6-hour Zoom. They do a great job of creating space, holding space, making spaciousness, I mean. And I also think I made it a ritual. It was like a sacred thing. Like I knew my colleagues knew that this was something I'm doing. I mean, it also behooves them, right? If you're really training and in philanthropy specific content, like it really behooves the organization. So helping them see that it's a win-win, right? And then yeah, I would say that the virtual space, some things that the faculty helped us do because it's so, you know, it's so relational, the cohort and everything, that they even coached us because of their sensitivity of like having more expression and expressiveness and being more animated because we need to get beyond the box and things like that. So just the virtual versus in person, I didn't have the option, but I didn't feel it lacking at all. And I didn't feel it fatiguing because you do have a large lunch break. You do body breaks. I'd often put myself off camera and stretch or, whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. It felt thorough, but not exhaustive.
Yeah, it went by so fast for me because of the intentional breaks that they implemented, because of the ways that they invited us to interact, knowing all that was happening. So a lot of like, if you can't be on video, we totally understand. We would like you to be so that we can facilitate community, but it's not mandatory. So like, do what you need to do to take care of yourselves. So for that reason, it went really, really fast for me. And I think my experience was really sweet too, because I got a chance to meet all of my respective cohort peers beforehand, because it was going to be an in-person cohort, before COVID and everything. So the first, like the introductory session, as well as the very first session, happened in person for my cohort. And we plan to do that as well for this upcoming 2023 cohort, is have an in-person gathering beforehand, just to facilitate community and just that sense of like togetherness before being in the virtual space. And then just hopeful that folks feel emboldened and like feel community, so that they can also connect with their peers in between or at the end, and then you're able to graduate, so to speak, into this alumni community.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Any other questions, y'all? We have like 4 minutes here.
Great questions too. I could see the gears turning, you're definitely all really seriously considering it, which is awesome.
It was
also
like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I also say it brings you into close relation to NCG, which is such a great body, supporting body, philanthropic serving organization, and relationship with Kate and Melissa, the rest of the team. I think they're great assets, and it's great to be connected to them. And they will, I mean, Kate, to this, like I email her and she's like, oh, we can have a conversation. Let's talk about your professional development and your future and things like that. It's just like people in your corner, which is a big deal. I'm noticing people dropping off. I don't know if I guess if we don't have any more questions, maybe we close it.
Yeah, just one last thing, just that networking piece is super powerful. Like you have this community that you get to walk through the sector with. So really powerful, and really want to extend gratitude to you both for staying on, and really hope that you apply. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out as you prepare your applications or consider this. But
Thanks so much.
Take care.
Nilofar, let me stop recording really quick.
Oh yeah.